Ladies and gentlemen, Gurmeet Ram Rahim is out on parole once again, his 15th in 4 years. And yes, it's once again right ahead of an election in Haryana. The state, as you know, votes for its assembly in exactly 2 days, on the 5th of October. This time, the Dera chief, who just by the way has been convicted of raping 2 of his disciples inside his ashram and a murder, has got a 20-day parole. This a few days after he had walked inside jail. Now, the state government says it has set strict conditions for his parole. They say, in their defense, Ram Rahim cannot participate in election-related activities, neither can he deliver any public speeches. Seriously? Ladies and gentlemen, fact is that while ordinary prisoners keep knocking at the doors of the system for bails and furloughs and paroles, only the VVIPs are lucky enough to get it. For Ram Rahim, he gets furloughs and paroles at will. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last 7 years, just consider these numbers. In the last 7 years, the rape convict and the murder convict has spent over 259 days out of jail. And most of his paroles have coincided with elections, either assembly elections or Lok Sabha elections or Panchayat elections. Now, the argument is always this, and this is the BJP's argument this time as well, that his release was as per the jail manual and that this has nothing to do with politics, that this is his right. This is the right of every prisoner. Sure, we agree. Question is, why is this right not extended to other prisoners? Ladies and gentlemen, you know the facts. The facts are that the Dera chief has a sizable following in Haryana and Punjab. He has a dedicated following in at least 6 Haryana districts, which covers 26 assembly constituencies. So, irrespective of whether he is stepping into Haryana and giving political speeches or not, by releasing him from jail on parole, you have sent a signal to all his followers that we are with the Baba, so vote for us. But ladies and gentlemen, I have one fundamental question to ask you this evening. Why is our system so hypocritical? Are we hypocrites as well? Come to think of it, just for a minute, indulge me. This man, Akshay Shinde, who raped 2 little toddlers in a school in Badlapur near Mumbai, he was encountered to death. It was called justice. It was called Badlapura. But Ram Rahim, who has been convicted of raping 2 women, gets parole pe parole, at will. He has been sentenced to a 20-year jail term, and yet he keeps walking out of jail every 2nd month, every 3rd month. Is this not a mockery of justice? Encounter for one and parole for another rapist. The inconsistency in how justice is meted out in India not only undermines public trust, but also poses a threat to the integrity of our democratic process. Is it fair? Is Ram Rahim getting parole and furlough so easily fair? Dr. S.Y. Quraishi, you are a former Chief Election Commissioner. I'm coming to you before I go to my other guests. The Election Commission had raised some questions about Ram Rahim getting furlough or parole at this stage when Haryana votes in the next 2 days. They withdrew their objections and said the government can decide. The Election Commission, I'm sure, sees exactly why the parole is being given. Why did they allow it?
Yeah. In fact, Shreya, you have asked the right questions in your introduction. Everything that you said is perfect. That is what I would have liked to say. Now, so many times just before the election, why is it that the parole is given to him just before the election? And obviously, when it is before the election, it will be with the clearance from the Election Commission. Otherwise, the Election Commission does not come into the picture. And as you said that they had objected, but 2 days before that, they withdrew the objection. Now, that is something which, these are the kind of things which do not enhance the prestige of the Election Commission. I'm so sorry to say, and I'm almost embarrassed to say. So what is happening? Now, just before every election, this guy goes out for 30 days, 40 days. When students are rotting in jail without bail for 4 years, a journalist who comes to cover the rape before he writes a line, he is arrested and put in jail for 2 years. So, what kind of justice, what kind of judicial system and the entire system that we have, it puts a question mark, and it's
Okay.
highly embarrassing.
Okay. So, Dr. Quraishi, given what has happened in Haryana, given the fact that there is a model code of conduct in place, and technically it's the Election Commission that is the boss in the state, they are the ones who technically have told the government, okay, you can do what you want to do, and the government, of course, has given parole to Ram Rahim. My question to you is, then is a model code of conduct sirf naam ka, only for the opposition? Sarkar ke liye nahi hai, for babas like this who influence elections, unke liye nahi hai. So is the Election Commission then only answering to its political masters, that it is not the independent body that all of us hope it is?
Well, when I hear these words, political masters and others, it hurts me no end. Because the Election Commission, by design of the Constitution, is supposed to be independent, and it is common sense. 2-3 days before the election, now heavens would not have fallen if the Election Commission had not allowed the government to do what it has done. We would not be discussing it. So it puts a question mark. We leave it to the government. So what are you doing? Model code of conduct, that is what you are supposed to enforce. And the fact that people are asking questions, now these questions are avoidable. So I don't know. I'm feeling very awkward about it, in fact.
Okay, Dr. Quraishi, we'll leave it there for the moment. In this case, we have not put you in an awkward position. It is your former institution that has, but always grateful for you to join us and give your perspective. It's good to hear from you. Dr. Quraishi, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me now introduce my guest to you. Renu Bhatia is chairperson of the Haryana State Commission for Women. She, of course, belongs to the BJP. Renuji, good evening. Welcome to the show. Tehseen Poonawala is a political analyst joining us on the broadcast as well. Kapil Sankla is a Supreme Court lawyer. Thank you very much. And Yashowardhan Azad is a former IPS officer joining us on the show. Renu Bhatia ji, can I start with you? Since you are chairperson of the Haryana State Commission for Women, Ram Rahim is someone who has been convicted, ma'am, of raping 2 women in his ashram. Convicted. And yet the man walks out of jail on will with the blessings of the state government. This time, once again, he's walked out right ahead of the Haryana elections. So will anyone believe it when the BJP government says, इससे election का कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, ये तो prisoner का right है?
I think in your anchoring, you have questioned yourself and you have answered also what I heard, as Dr. Quraishi also said, that you've already said much about the things. If you ask me about as a chairperson, I will always tell you that it is true that BJP का इससे कोई लेना देना नहीं, because it is a right. It is a fundamental right. You can ask for the payroll, you can ask for the leave. And he has been asking, and many prisoners have been asking like this, and they have been getting. Why we are focusing particular on this person? No doubts. No doubts, as a woman, as a chairperson for Women Commission, I would say that he has done the most heinous crime, and he's convicted too. But this is a permission through court. Nothing is to be done with the BJP or the, the state government or anything. He straight away asked permission to the court, and they have allowed him. It was court who had to decide that he should be allowed or not allowed. Now, if you question कि 2 दिन रह गए चुनाव के, and he has come out, and he has been coming out like this, whenever he applied, the court has permitted him. Yesterday also I was on a debate
नहीं
with you
मैम
people and you said the superintendent of jails has permitted him, but then we found that it was nothing like that. As many times he got parole, it was the court
चलिए
who
मैम
permitted him, and then
I will
we
just give you
all
some
are
facts.
not above the court. Court is on the highest peak.
ओके मैम मैं आपको मैम आई जस्ट रेनू जी आपने कोर्ट की बात की एंड यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट दैट एट वन पॉइंट द हाई कोर्ट हैड सेड दैट दिस मैन विल नॉट गेट parole or furlough without us giving the thumbs up. Now that matter is long gone. Let me tell you how Ram Rahim got furlough. It has nothing to do with the court. You don't apply to the court to get parole or furlough. Process ye tha, and this is what happened in this case. What happens is that the chief secretary's office first gave the nod, then the additional chief secretary home, Anurag Rastogi, sent the file to the DGP prisons, Mohammad Akil, for further action, and Ram Rahim was set free once again. So please, I understand that you're confusing matters with the previous case where the court had said that this man will get parole only after we give the go-ahead. But in this case, it is the state government and the state machinery that has agreed to his parole, ma'am. The Election Commission had initially raised some questions. The Congress party, Tehseen Poonawala, come in here. The Congress party had also raised questions written to the Election Commission. But Tehseen, uske baad to Congress bhi chup ho gaya simply because even the Congress party wants votes from Ram Rahim's fan base. That is the truth.
Shreya, thank you so much for having me on the show. At the onset, I would like to make 2 or 3 points extremely clear with your viewers. The Renuji, speaking on behalf of the BJP and the Haryana Women's Panel or Women's Cell, said right now that parole is a fundamental right. She just said this, that parole is a fundamental right. As a student of the Constitution, let me tell your viewers, no, parole is not a fundamental right. It's a conditional release given under various terms by the jail authorities, as you rightly put it, by the state government, and then upheld by the courts. In this particular case, in the case of Ram Rahim, the Election Commission, as you rightly said, objected, and then they gave in. And I think it is extremely sad for a number of reasons. Here is a man who's raped and murdered women. And you have out here on this show somebody representing the women's panel saying, oh, you know what, this is unacceptable, but hey, this is his fundamental right. No, it's not his fundamental right. Number two, how many other prisoners in Haryana jail have been given this so-called fundamental rights of theirs? People continue to languish in jail as under trials. Many are under trials more than the actual prison term that they have to serve. But hey, come elections and Ram Rahim is out. And Ram Rahim is out cutting birthday cakes with a sword. And you're right, no political party will make it an issue because you know what? Everybody wants votes. And I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to be provocative here. The women that Ram Rahim raped, the 2 sadhvis that he raped, murdered, the extreme women, were the poorest of poor of our fellow citizens, the weakest of the weakest. If these were empowered people, would we not have had an outrage? That is what we've come down to. He castrated, as per the allegations, 400 odd men. He killed a goddamn journalist. That's the allegations on this man. And he's out come every time there are elections. And you have no less than somebody from the women's cell of Haryana whose fundamental duty, yes, is to protect women, sitting here and said, hey, I'm helpless because you know what? Let me just say whatever I want on national TV. It's a fundamental right. I have one last thing to say. When Ram Rahim was arrested, 2 of my friends who serve in Haryana police spent sleepless nights protecting the areas they were asked. And these are women. The areas they were asked to guard so there's no untoward incident. They spent sleepless nights, some with small children. You're even letting down those women police officers who stood up for justice. It's a spineless government, and let me say so, a spineless election commission.
रेनू भाटिया, आप जवाब दीजिए क्योंकि पॉइंट है क्या जस्टिस इस बात पे डिपेंड करता है कि आपका सोशियो इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन क्या है, वेदर यू आर इन्फ्लुएंशियल और नॉट. आपने जस्टिस के नाम पे बदलापुर के चाइल्ड रेपिस्ट को गोली मार दी. यू इनकाउंटर्ड हिम विद द ब्लेसिंग्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट in Maharashtra. And in Haryana, with the blessings of the government, you have once again given parole to a man who's been convicted. He's not even an accused. He has been convicted of raping 2 women and murdering 1 journalist. Convicted, not accused. रेणु जी, ये जस्टिस तो नहीं है और सबको साफ दिख रहा है कि इलेक्शन से पहले दिया क्यों गया है parole.
I stick to my words. See, as I said earlier, I stick to my words that this is nothing to be done with the government. It is the court who has given the permission. Again, I would say, as you said, the chief secretary or whatever, but this person had applied for it, and the court gives him parole for that. So it is nothing to do with the elections.
As you was not
said,
involved.
I need not.
Okay, let me get in Yashovardhan Azad.
I will repeat a second.
No, ma'am, don't. No,
a second, ma'am.
No, I understand you're saying that this has nothing to do with elections. But let's put that graphic out once again. Ma'am, एक graphic आप जरा वो देख लीजिए ध्यान से. जितनी बार राम रहीम को parole या furlough मिली है, let's just guys put that graphic out. Just see that. Just see that. 20 days ahead of Haryana elections, 21 days ahead of Haryana elections, 50 days ahead of Lok Sabha elections, 21 days ahead of Rajasthan elections where he has supporters and followers as well. Ma'am, what do we do with this data? How can we unsee this data? आप जो बोल रही हैं, आप बोलिए. But there is data that contradicts what you are saying. Yashovardhan Azad, बार-बार.
I agree to it.
The Haryana Women Commission chief is saying, this is the doing with the... okay, let me just get in Yashovardhan Azad. Yashovardhan Azad, बार-बार the Women's Commission chief of Haryana is saying, but this is the court. The court has given parole. Fact is, court has nothing to do with parole, at least in this case. The parole is granted by the state government and the chief secretary of the state. He's the one who writes, just correct me if I'm wrong. He's the one who writes to the DGP prisons of the state, and that is what the process is. So courts को इसमें blame करना, do you think is fair, and what do you make of the Election Commission's role that is effectively right now in charge of Haryana? Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself. Sir, can you unmute yourself?
It's the divisional commissioner in the case of parole, and it's the DIG prisons in the case of furlough. The police and the court have nothing to do with this. And, let me, going through the same rigmarole again and again, I've done it on your channel only before. It's quite obvious that we have a flawed democracy. In the sense that even people who are followers, if they can vote in the name of a murderer and a rapist, then what else can I say? And if the Women Commission does not feel enraged, and as my friend Tehseen said just now, that it is something which is impossible to even describe, and it pains me to see that we are talking about women empowerment, and it's an open, naked show of barbarism. That's all I can say. And mind you, Shreya, the worst part is that this is happening in every regime. I mean, if we have criminals like this, mafias have been released in Bihar. I mean, they have been released in other states. Look at the Bellari mafia. Look at any sand mafia. I mean, I'm aware of policemen telling me from every state their angst, their pain, that all the time they're condemned for their actions. They cannot do anything when they take actions against these mafias. This Ram Rahim, this third-rater criminal, is a joke. And you're absolutely right. The Election Commission is 100% compromised. Any person with any kind of a spine would have said, no way, we will not allow him to. And nothing would have happened to him also, let me tell you that. It's being more loyal than the king. And by the way, the guy who's responsible for this from the jail is a guy who's resigned and is a BJP candidate. What other proof do you need for this? So, it is fairly obvious that this will continue. And I'm telling you, without the autonomy, which I keep talking about again and again, to the enforcement agencies, nothing can be done. And last point, Shreya,
Okay.
While Sonam Wangchuk was arrested, this fellow is enjoying his parole. What a great democracy.
That says something, Kapil Sankla. That does say something. How does a system become so shameless? कि आप मुंह पे झूठ बोलते हो और आप जनता को बेवकूफ समझते हो. And you don't care about what people think or say. You just do what is politically convenient to you.
Shreya, I'm afraid that I would be in a very awkward position if I talk about law, which perhaps not align with your guess. So with your permission, I will just talk about the law. I don't want the optics. I understand this is a news channel, but just bear me out for a second with your permission. I do understand whatever everybody else is saying, but the law is equal for everyone, for some more equal. Like you have this Baba Ram Rahim fellow, and we are talking about his furloughs and his payrolls. This was the same issue that was raised way back with Sanjay Dutt's case as well, and we are aware of that. So yes, sometimes it does happen that the VIPs and the VVIPs are treated different, but that is the part and parcel of our setup, and every government is equally responsible for it. To digress from what Mr. Poonawala is saying, again, a very erudite fellow, I have a lot of respect for him. But as payroll is a administrative function, it is also quasi-judicial in the sense that an application can be moved before the district magistrate. And if the payroll is delayed, you can go to the court. So the courts do intervene to ask what are the circumstances where there is an unequal order of the administration. So I don't know whether that was done in this case or not, but just to add on to what Mr. Poonawala was saying, there is a little more to it than there is. And there are lawyers who only survive on doing payroll applications. The third issue that I just wanted to point out, and again, I'm afraid that, I might sound as if I'm taking this Ram Rahim side. I'm not. I'm only taking side of law. Good or bad, you change it for everyone, I'm more than happy. But the fact is this, that this is governed under the Haryana Good Conduct Prisoners Temporary Release Act, as far as I recall, where a person is entitled to 10 weeks of payroll and I think 4 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, of furlough. I'm subject to correction. And forget the timing for a moment, because the timing also, we have to understand, it is not the government which is saying ki acha payroll laga lo, tumko de rahe hain. The prisoners move for a payroll, and the payroll is then allowed. And I do understand that
because the prisoner knows he'll get it.
Let me finish. See, I told you that I'm in a very awkward situation right now, but then I am also duty bound to tell what the law is and leave all the politics to all the political candidates. I am only telling you that if a person gets payroll and furlough on these within the period that has been allowed, then as far as law is concerned, you cannot challenge it. What you can definitely challenge is, why has somebody else not got it and why has it got it? This would be bias or this could be discretion. That Absolutely. I am with you. But the other thing, as far as law is concerned, if it's within the law, I'm sure he's getting a lot of better lawyers and all that. You really can't say law is equal for everyone. Yeah, the fact of life is that law is, it bends to the...
No, the law is not equal for anyone. We know.
Lawyers as well.
No, we understand that, Mr. Sankla. I'm out of time. As I always say here on Mirror Now, we like to hear all sides of the story and all points of view. But the fact is, come to think of it, just how hypocritical is the system? You shoot dead one person who is accused of raping 2 little girls. He's still an accused, he's not a convict. Everyone shares it. And then you have a man who is convicted of raping 2 women, and you happily let him walk out at will, and you say it's his right. Right तो भाई उस बंदे का भी था to a fair trial, नहीं दिया ना, तो इसको bail क्यों दी? Anyhow, we'll leave it there for the moment. Renu Bhatia, thank you for joining us. Tehseen Poonawala, thank you very much. Kapil Sankla, thank you very much. And Yashovardhan Azad, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, slipping into a quick break on the show, we are turning our focus on Israel and Iran that are on the brink of a full-scale war. Getting you the big developments and some big voices taking us through the conflict. Do stay with us.